How to build a strong culture with a remote team. And this works for in-person teams as well. Are your people spread around the country, around the world, but you want to build the kind of culture that they love being a part of, but you're not quite sure what to do or where to start? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you the perfect activity to run a cultural brainstorm process with your team so you can build the kind of culture that supports you all to work at your best. If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Chris Littlefield. I'm the founder of a company called Beyond Thank You. I spent 15 plus years working with leaders at top companies around the world like L'Oreal, Colgate-Palmolive, the United Nations, to have the conversations that matter most so people can focus on doing the work that matters most. Now, one of those conversations is around cultural design, because sadly, many teams spend a lot of time talking about setting goals about how they're going to do their work, but they don't have conversations about how they're going to work together and the kind of culture they need to build and maintain to be able to do that. And as a result, all of the culture building often ends up on you, the leader's shoulders. So this exercise will both help you share that responsibility and load and design the kind of culture that supports you as a team. So this process has three different parts to it. There is a personal reflection process that you give out to each one of your people ahead of time. Then there's a meeting where you all come together to be able to design the culture, and then a follow-up session to be able to put things on the calendar to make sure that you actually follow up and do these. Now, the personal brainstorm activity has two different things that you want to send out to people. The first part is you want people to think about their own goals. You want to ask them, how do you want to grow professionally in the year ahead? How do you want to grow personally? And what can the team do to be able to support you to accomplish those goals? Now, what are examples of growing professionally? Maybe you want to learn a new skill. Maybe you want to shadow another department. Maybe you want to get better at public speaking or work towards a promotion or taking on more responsibilities. How do you want to grow personally? Maybe you want to buy a house. Maybe you want to start a family. Maybe you want to travel to Tahiti or take yoga classes or just have better work-life balance. And then when it comes to support, you want people just to be able to think of what would support look like, but you want them to get clear on it. And the reason why you have people do this before you do a cultural brainstorm process is you want to make sure that you're designing a culture that supports people to accomplish what's most important to them. And having them think about these things up front, have them get present to them as they come into this conversation, because you're also going to be sharing it with one another. So the other part you want people to brainstorm with is around the culture design. What do we want to do as a team? How do we want to learn and grow, laugh and play, rest and rejuvenate, celebrate and appreciate, and connect and reflect? And then up at the top, I have what we've done in the past and what new things we'd like to do in the future. And what you want people to do is to be thinking about those things prior to the session. What have we done in the past to rest and reflect, to celebrate and appreciate that Riz really worked? Well, we did this small victories ritual every Thursday, and I really liked when we did that, and we just stopped doing it. I liked when we used a few minutes in the beginning of each one of our meetings to be able to ask a question and learn about each other before we jumped in. Hey, I liked when we all got together and did that one retreat in that location, and it was all focused on just learning about each other. So have people think about what they've done in the past, either at your company or at other companies, and what new things they'd love to do in the future, and have them jot down ideas for each one of those areas. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to schedule a time to come together. Now, I usually recommend putting a couple hours aside. If you're meeting virtually, just organize a Zoom meeting to be able to do this. And if you're meeting in person, and maybe this is a great retreat activity, then come together and you can actually put all this stuff on a whiteboard or pull out some Post-it notes to help people do that. Now, the first round, what I'd have people do is I'd have people turn to the person next to them, or if you're in Zoom, put them into small breakout rooms with maybe 2 to 3 people and have them go around and share. And just, by the way, the one caveat here is no one's required to share anything they don't want to share. And make sure that that's clear up front. But have people go around and just share. What's one thing that you would love to accomplish professionally and accomplish personally, and how can the team support them? And then have people just share that with a few people, and then bring people back and ask people to share, hey, what did you learn about some of the things that other people want to accomplish? And then go around and share that. Now, here's a little side note for you as a leader. Once people have written this up, these are great things to ask about in your one-on-ones because they've already thought about it. So you can have that conversation in the one-on-one and then tie it into the group. Okay, now think about all the things you want to accomplish personally. Now, what do we want to do in each one of these categories to be able to build the kind of culture that we love being a part of. Now, there's a couple different ways you can facilitate this. You can have people just yell out ideas, and you can go category by category from learn and grow, laugh and play, rest and rejuvenate, and so on and so forth. Or what you can do is pick a category, give out Post-it notes, have people write down ideas. And if you're online, what you do is just take a digital whiteboard like Miro, and you can use the one in Zoom, and just create that and have people just write up their ideas. Create a 1-minute timer for people to write their ideas and throw them up in there. Or if you want to even simplify it even more, write rest and rejuvenate and then post it with a line underneath it in your Zoom chat or your Teams chat. Put a timer for 2 minutes, have people write all their ideas, but don't hit send, and then hit send, and then they'll all come down. And then, by the way, you just download the chat and you have all your ideas. But have a conversation, have people put the ideas up for each one of the categories, generate ideas together, and then afterwards say, hey, what are the ones that you're most excited about that came up here? What are the ones that are really easy for us to act on? What are the ones that are a little more complicated? And then have people all decide, hey, what are the 5 things that we think are most important in each category? And then this moves on to the last part of our process. So 1, just make sure you capture all the ideas and you have them in one place, whether it's in a Google Doc, a shared Teams document, whatever it may be. And this comes to the last phase, and the one that often has things go from a great idea generation into something that we're gonna act on. So what you wanna do is now sort these things into a couple different categories: general practices, meeting ideas, team rituals, special occasions, and other. And take those things, and they don't need to stay in the categories that we brainstormed around before, but just put them in there. And then have a conversation of, when do we want to do these general practices? What one thing do we want to incorporate each week? What do we want to incorporate into our team meetings? What weekly rituals do we want to have? And then put them on the calendars, and then set times, maybe once a quarter, to review what things have been working and what things haven't been working. And then also do a check-in about how you're doing at building and maintaining relationships. Now, if you want a great assessment that's going to help you see how you're currently doing with doing that, go to beyondthankyou.com and then go to the bottom of the homepage, and you'll see some handouts where you'll get 80+ ways to nurture culture appreciation. You'll get some questions you can incorporate in, which are some great ones to go into general practices and meeting rituals. And then you'll also get a 10-question assessment to see how you're really doing at building and maintaining relationships on your team, which can be a great check-in to do a couple times a year to be able to do just that. So in summary, this is a simple cultural brainstorming process that you can either do in the beginning of the year, at a midpoint, or really at any point to be able to step back and say, hey, how do we consciously think about how we're going to build and maintain relationships? And you have those 3 parts of the process: the personal brainstorm process, the activities brainstorm process, the things that we want to do, and then also the planning process. And if you do each one of those a couple times a year, and then you do that assessment that was on my website, then what you're going to do is take that culture building off your shoulders. You're going to share it with your team, and then together you're going to both design and build the kind of culture that you love being a part of. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, hit that like and subscribe. If you want some other things you can do with your remote teams, check out my book, 75 Team Building Activities for Remote Teams. You'll get more stuff you can use. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at beyondthankyou.com. Take care.